Gopi Gannavara Yashodanandana Prabhajanaranja Yashodanandana Prabhajanaranja Yamunatira Gopi Gannavara Gopi Gannavara Yashodanandana Prabhajanaranja Yashodanandana Prabhajanaranja Yamunatira Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hamsa Prabhu Jagadachaya Ashtavara Sapes Pankreshi Madesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari. Let's read the topic on Lilamrita. Tempo seems to be a little bit faster than the online, so we go back and match it up again. But I'm not reading the whole lot to get up to the tempo again, so it's just a little bit. The chapter is entitled "Beginning the Temple of Krishna Balaram." On the roadside, he passed a man dressed in simple white cloth of Babaji, warming himself before a fire of twigs. Prabhupada said that the Shatva by Srinivasa Acharya defines the actual qualities of a person in the renounced order. The song glorifies the six Goswamis who gave up their posts as government ministers, became mendicants, accepting only one cross and thinking always of Krishna and gopis. Vrindavan is the gift of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, Prabhupada said. They wrote many books so poor people could take advantage and become Krishna conscious. We see many imitations of Rupa Goswami in Vrindavan today, but they should never take the dress of Rupa Goswami, especially if they cannot give up this cigarette smoking habit. It was the gift of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that we should not jump and try to change our garb all of a sudden. We should try to hear of the absolute truth from realized souls. Prabhupada said that especially his disciples in Vrindavan should become Goswamis. Whether grihastas or sannyasis, they should live simply, austerely, and engage 24 hours in the service of Krishna. Prabhupada sat in his room talking with Gunarnava about finances. Where are the bills? Prabhupada asked. I am keeping duplicates, Prabhupada, Gunarnava explained, showing him how he had attached bills to the vouchers. Tejas is keeping the originals in daily. This is just an explanation, Prabhupada replied. I'm an auditor. I am not A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Don't you understand? The auditor wants to see the bills, not just your excuses. Throughout the day, Prabhupada would call in Gurudas, Surbi, Mr. Lahadi, the engineer, even the contractor, Mr. Ali Books. Although the contractor was Mohammedan, Prabhupada requested him, please do a nice job, because this is Krishna's temple. If you work very nicely, Krishna will bless you. Prabhupada assured him that money would not be a problem. He would arrange that $10,000 a month would come from his temple in America until the construction was finished. It will be finished by Janmashtami, Prabhupada asked. Yes, Gurudas said firmly, it will be done. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, entitled The History of the Life of Ajamil, Text 26. Please repeat. Bunjana prapipan kadam balakam sneha yantrita bhojayan payayan mudho navidagatam antakam Bunjana prapipan kadam balakam sneha yantrita bhojayan payayan mudho navidagatam antakam Bunjana prapipan kadam balakam sneha yantrita bhojayan payayan mudho
navidagatam antakam. Adakam sneha yantrita. Uchayantai mudho. Navidagatam antakam. Jana prapipankara. Palakam sneha yantrita. Uchayantai mudho. Navidagatam antakam. Punjana prapipankara. Palakam sneha yantrita. Ochayantayan mudho. Navidagatam antakam. Mataji. Punjana prapipankadam. Balakam sneha yantrita. Ochayantayan mudho. Navidagatam antakam. Punjana prapipankadam. Balakam sneha yantrita. Ochayantayan mudho. Navidagatam antakam. Word by word, please repeat. Bunjana, while eating. Prapipan, while drinking. Karan, while chewing. Balakam, onto the child. Sneha yantrita, being attached by affection. Bojayan, feeding. Payayan, giving something to drink. Mudaha, the foolish man. Na, not. Veda, understood. Agatam, had arrived. Antakam, death. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When Ajamil chewed food and ate it, he called the child to chew and eat, and when he drank, he called the child to drink also. Always engaged in taking care of the child and calling his name Narayan. Ajamil could not understand that his own time was now exhausted and that death was upon him. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is kind to the conditioned soul. Although this man completely forgot Narayan, he was calling his child, saying, Narayan, please come eat this food. Narayan, please come drink this milk. Somehow or other, therefore, he was attached to the name Narayan. This is called Agyata Sukriti. Although calling for his son, he was unknowingly chanting the name of Narayan. And the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so transcendently powerful that his chanting was being counted and recorded. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjala Chalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. When Ajamil chewed food and ate it, he called the child to chew and eat, and when he drank, he called the child to drink also. Always engaged in taking care of the child and calling his name Narayan, Ajamil could not understand that his own time was now exhausted and that death was upon him. So we finally made it to the sixth canto after the descriptions of the universe, the different planetary systems, And then finally, the description of the hellish planets. We arrived in the 6th canto where Parikshit Maharaj started asking Shukadev Goswami about how to get rid of sinful reactions. Obviously, after hearing about the hellish planetary systems, and especially growing up in Kali Yuga in the West, well, we are due to go to many of those planets if we can't make a solution to that problem. So Parikshit Maharaj's question to Shukadev Goswami is quite relevant to most of us, all of, if not all of us. And in one sense, obviously, it was not so relevant for Parikshit Maharaj because he was a pure devotee. He was not engaged in sinful activities. So by his compassion to all of us, he was putting forth those questions to Shukadev Goswami. And Shukadev Goswami took the opportunity of that inquiry to also test Parikshit Maharaj. And first of all, he offered as a solution to those sinful reactions we carry around, prayaschita, or atonement, that we have to counteract any sinful activities with some pious deeds. But Parikshit Maharaj immediately rejected that suggestion because it doesn't really make a solution to the problem. We may counteract some sinful activities, but then we engage again in sinful activities. So it's a continuous cycle of acting and counteracting those activities. So it didn't really give the solution to Parikshit Maharaj. So he inquired more. Well, that doesn't seem very suitable. It's like the elephants bathing. Elephants bathe in the water, cleanse all the dirt of their body, and then they engage in throwing the dust back on. So they're dirty again. Now, obviously, that has a purpose for the elephant. It protects him from being sunburned. But so just the external analogy is quite relevant. Yeah? So we are engaged in sinful activities, counteract them, but because we cannot change our behavior, we just continue. So it's not the solution. So Shukadev Goswami was very pleased by the inquiry of Parikshit Maharaj, realizing that his student is very attentive and wants to make the ultimate solution. But he also considers persons, especially in that context, after talking about the hellish planetary systems, about persons who may not actually want or not interested in devotional service. They may be interested in enjoyment. They're interested in just in enjoying the material world in some, to the best of their abilities. And when they now hear about, oh no, reactions to my actions, how to counteract them. So Shukadev Goswami suggests the chanting of the holy name, and that's a transcendental trick, obviously, because the purpose of chanting the holy name is not to get rid of sin. The purpose of chanting the holy name of Krishna is to reestablish our relationship with him. It's the beginning of hearing, and chanting is the beginning of devotional service. But because people may not be interested in transcendence and devotional service, in any type of transcendental knowledge, well, he uses this opportunity to introduce that after talking about the reactions and the pains we have to suffer for our actions now if we engage in sinful reactions, to encourage also sinful people to chant the holy name. And that's a very important point. And I want to use that, or what I want to speak about is how we can approach that chapter in so many ways, because Shukadev Goswami is also putting some test to us. here in this chapter. We hear so much in this chapter that's going to be about the glories of the holy name and how the holy name is so powerful, and so on and so forth. That's going to be a few chapters long like this. I mean, it's a beautiful chapter. So many topics are covered. But the holy name is obviously, and all the glories of the holy name is obviously a very prominent topic throughout the pastime of Ajamil. And we can, maybe also get on the wrong track. So let's see what has been talked here. So Ajamil, in this verse, we see his attachment to his son Narayan, which he fortunately called Narayan. He was a Brahmana, Ajamil, grown up, and then he was attracted by a prostitute. And then he lost all his Brahminical qualities because of his attachment. And he engaged, he married this prostitute, had children with her, and engaged in all sorts of sinful activities to maintain her. So he was completely covered, he's completely covered by lust. Still is here in that verse. But by some good fortune, he called his child Narayan, and he was very attached to the youngest child. I mean, nowadays with 88, I'm not sure how old that lady is, but so the youngest one is a toddler who can't even speak properly. So he's very attached. It's a very cute age. And for parents, we know that's a very, very beautiful age, seeing that child grow. So naturally there's attachment and affection. And because he called his child Narayan, he was always thinking of Narayan, even though he meant his son, and not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at the time of death, he was absorbed in Narayan. The name Narayan is as powerful, it's Narayan himself. Obviously, that he was thinking of his son, but nevertheless, the name is all powerful. So he was somehow or other absorbed, and that's called Agyata Sukriti. Yeah? Some unknown pious credits he got there. Because he didn't know, he didn't have any transcendental knowledge. He was completely covered up. Yeah, so the first step here is to think, oh, well, if the name is so powerful, then we just call our children Narayan, Krishna, and so on and so forth, some name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we can just continue doing all the nonsense we're doing. And we are all fine because we are thinking of our children, calling their names, and that's sorted out because the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so powerful. Well, it doesn't quite work for two reasons. First of all, we commit offenses to the chanting of the holy name because we commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name, and probably all the other 9 offenses as well. And secondly, we know, so it cannot be Akyata Sukriti. So it will be probably Kyata Duskriti. We are knowingly being a miscreant, Muda, a fool. So that's probably another offense, So that doesn't quite work because, well, we have the knowledge and we purposefully, knowingly try to cheat the system. So Krishna won't be happy with that, and there will be not any benefit in that approach. So we, as soon as we have some knowledge, we cannot go back and cheat. That's some attitude sometimes comes, and had one devotee asking me in the loft, so, well, he needed a little extra lesson in the outside world, so to speak, and he kind of was on the edge and was asking questions along those lines, and I was like, oh, are you thinking about, going off and then, finish up in your next life? And he's like, how did you know? So, well, that was pretty obvious the way he asked the questions. And so we can have those moments where we think, well, holy name is so powerful, let's take a little detour, I'll be saved sooner or later anyway. So that doesn't quite work. Because Srila Prabhupada explains this, the the prayers of King Kunti are very beautiful. He explains that chanting the holy name it requires a certain feeling. He describes the feeling of helplessness. We see here Ajamil at the time of death was very helpless. He was in anxiety. Death was coming upon him, and so he called out Narayan in this anxiety, and that counted because the chanting was pure without any desire to get something in return. He was just in anxiety calling out Narayan. He didn't say, Narayan, please, I have so many sinful activities, take them away. Or I want this, I want that. No, he was simply in anxiety calling out the name, and that was counted as pure chanting. Not pure chanting, excuse me, offenseless chanting. He chanted in this moment without offenses. The Bhagavatam always gives us very strong, very black and white examples, very extreme examples. So we have here a sinful person chanting Narayan at the end of his life, calling his son, but nevertheless the Vishnudutas came because he chanted offenselessly. And the effect of that offenseless chanting is that all the sinful reactions are destroyed. That's the effect of chanting the holy name once, offenselessly. There's a nice analogy how chanting the holy name, and we hear Harinam Sankirtan Yajna, it's a sacrifice, it's a yajna, and how that is, I can't remember out of the top of my head which where it's from. I didn't look that up, unfortunately. It would have been a good idea. So we know the fire sacrifice. We have the sacrificial pit, the ladle, the ghee, all the paraphernalia for the sacrifice. So the holy name, or the tongue, is compared to the ladle. Our tongue is compared to the ladle, which pours the pure ghee of the holy name into the sacrificial pit. So the ear is the sacrificial pit. The ghee, the holy name, enters the ear, and from there it should go all the way down to the heart, and then the fire of devotion burns brightly. So when we put the ghee in the fire gets strength and burns because it has perfect fuel, right? So, and when the fire of devotion burns brightly, I mean, obviously we're talking about pure chanting of the holy name. Ajamil did not chant purely. He just chanted without offense. He didn't address Krishna. But nevertheless, something was burning up in his heart. And that's all the sinful reactions. And we learn from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam that a sinful person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we encounter that in preaching, that if, first there needs to be something else before people can even take Bhagavad Gita, read it, try to understand it. It's impossible. First there needs to be something else, and that's some purification. Obviously, if we get to the stage of offenseless chanting, that would be really nice. That would be amazing effect. So that's still a long way. But Ajamil got it with one name at the time of death. He got Samakyata Sukriti beforehand, but then at the time of death, he chanted offenselessly one name of Narayan. And that's the effect, because one name is enough. So we encounter that, well, there has to be some purification. The best purification in this day and age is the holy name. So engaging people in chanting the holy name, in hearing the holy name, and the other big weapon of our movement is prasadam. And then we can see some effects that actually, yes, there is some, now there is some understanding. They begin to understand if they stick around long enough and get sufficiently purified. Doesn't need to be much, but it just is so polluted in this day and age. And in the West, it needs a good dose of purification to initially take up the process a little bit, or at least inquire. And an inquiry is the beginning, because inquiry, if you truly inquire, it's a sign of humility. Actually, humility is not the quality of the false ego, but of the real ego. So with sincere inquiry, actually something awakens. It's evidence that something in the heart awakened. The true self is somehow trying its way to the surface. It's a long way to go. But yeah, so that's inquiry is a sign of humility, and that's a sign of the spirit soul, actually a symptom. Yeah. So again here, the purpose of chanting the holy name is not to get rid of sinful reactions. It's a side effect, which is quite important to engage for our devotional life, because if the sinful reactions are reduced or completely vanished, we have access to understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then obviously, if we have some little understanding about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we engage in his devotional service. And then the purification continues. And most importantly, the chanting is meant to reestablish our relationship with Krishna and nothing else, actually. That's the whole purpose, because Krishna and his holy name are non-different. We hear that so many times, and very easily we say, yeah, no difference between Krishna and his holy name, but it's actually quite profound, because if we chant the holy name in japa, in kirtan, we can directly associate with Krishna personally. Yeah. So if we, obviously realizing that would be also really nice, but if we just keep that in the back of our minds when we chant that actually, it's after Mangal Arti, now it's my quality time with Krishna. Now I'm chanting my rounds. So it doesn't become it doesn't turn into, sometimes chanting the rounds turns into something mechanical. All right, I have to do it. But well, what we're doing there, we're actually associating with Krishna, or we can associate with Krishna. Because there's no difference between his holy name and Krishna himself. Krishna is right there. So if we mindfully turn towards Krishna while we're chanting, we can make our japa time into my personal quality time with Krishna. But we have to mindfully turn towards him. But what we're doing instead, oftentimes we chant maybe rounds in the traffic jam while driving or while shopping or on the bus or doing so many things around the house. Nish, nish, ram, ram, doing so many things. And there's a nice analogy we can use. So, well, let's, because we only have to ultimately associate with the holy name once offensively, right? And all the sinful reactions are gone. If we can chant purely, well, we are established, as a pure devotee and go back to Godhead if we chant once purely. That's the glories of the holy name. And that we do, and we just turn our back towards the holy name while we're chanting the holy name. It's like inviting Guru to our home, association with a pure devotee. Just a moment, just a moment is enough of association, and we can become perfect by the association. So we invite Guru to our home and then he arrives, and we open the door. Oh, come in, make yourself a home, and then we go to the computer, do some things, or go in the garden, work something, do something, and just leave Guru sitting somewhere. Well, that's not associating with Guru, and that will not be beneficial. It will probably offensive. So we actually get some reactions for that, and that's exactly what's happening in the chanting if you not turn mindfully towards Krishna. Then we have the opportunity to associate, but we're not taking that opportunity. And it's a sign if our mind is all over the place. And it's natural, because we're embodied, we're in this material world for such a long time. Not only this lifetime, so many lifetimes, so many impressions are in our heart, so many desires are there. And that it takes some time to, for that to be purified. So it's not about, we definitely shouldn't stop chanting no matter how we chant, but we can use that 2 hours we spend chanting every day, maybe a little bit more consciously, and mindfully turn towards Krishna. And if it's just one round or starting the chanting, hey, let's focus a little bit. And the more we attentively chant, the more we associate with Krishna. Attentively meaning the heart being involved, different levels of attentiveness, body, mind, and heart. So obviously, we should be attentive on the level of the body and chant and do nothing else while chanting. That's the first. Because otherwise, when we're in the traffic jam, how can we mindfully turn towards Krishna? We are all absorbed in the externals, have to look at the different cars, make sure we're not crashing, and how can we mindfully turn towards Krishna in that situation? In our neophyte stage, Srila Prabhupada could chant on the airplane, and that, as a pure devotee, you can do that, but well, I'm not a pure devotee, so I can't do it. And it's probably not recommended in the beginning stage. And ultimately, we shouldn't consider ourselves so advanced anyway. So even Srila Prabhupada probably take the humble position there. But he could chant anywhere because his relationship with Krishna was full established. And wherever he went, you know, he had this Vrindavan consciousness. He just saw Krishna everywhere. So he can do that. We don't see that. We don't have that. I don't have that. So attentiveness on the level of the body is the first, and then attentiveness on the level of the mind. Oftentimes, japa turns into a planning session, planning the service, planning the work, planning the holiday, the trip to Vrindavan, this, that. So many things are on our mind, which simply shows, ultimately, it's just indications that our heart is not involved, that there are so many things more important to us than Krishna in his devotional service, and chanting his holy name. If so many things are in our mind while chanting, means there's something more important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have so many different things in our mind. You know? So, chanting the holy name is about establishing our relationship with Krishna and nothing else. And very easily, we can take those, when we hear all about the glories of the holy name, which are obviously there and true, and we can easily take it a little bit lightly. Oh yeah, I'm chanting this, that. Holy name is so powerful, I don't have to do anything. But no. Any relationship needs attention and work. And we have to put that effort and the determination in developing the relationship with Krishna through the chanting. We have to put that effort in. It doesn't happen automatically. Yes, we have so many side effects of the chanting. We have the purification happening, but in terms of our relationship with Krishna, any inattentive chanting, offensive chanting, doesn't develop the relationship. It just purifies us that we hopefully at one point understand, well, Krishna is amazing. Let me just serve him. Let me develop the relationship with him. Sooner or later, that has to click in our mind and our heart, and that we take it a little bit more seriously, that chanting, because it's such an opportunity. Krishna makes himself available so easily, but we are so stubbornly not really taking that opportunity seriously, and we're over familiar. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We're chanting, the holy name does some effect, some little simple reactions may be scrubbed away, but at the time of death, nothing else counts. We lose everything, materially speaking, but our relationship with Krishna. That's the only thing we take. We can keep at the moment of death. And if we are, if we do not develop our relationship with Krishna during this lifetime, then at the moment of death, we will not remember him alone. We will remember so many other things, and we will be in anxiety because this is not finished. My son, this, my daughter studies this. So many other things will be in our mind because our relationship with Krishna is not established. And there's a nice, an instructive pastime, actually, what happened to devotees in Ukraine. One Mataji was about to leave her body, so devotees arranged kirtan and so on. And then at one stage, a devotee asked, "So, do you want to go home? Do you want to go to Krishna? And she said, no. And everyone was shocked. Why is that? Why do you say that? I don't have a relationship with him. So at the moment of death, it may be, hitting us that, wait a minute, I haven't done anything for my relationship with Krishna, despite maybe externally doing so much service. We keep ourselves so busy doing this, doing that, doing that. But what about the relationship? That's the whole purpose of devotional service, is developing the relationship, doing it for Krishna. And in that way, deepening slowly and steadily that relationship with Krishna. And that starts with chanting, chanting the holy name, our rounds. Yeah? And that should be really become the anchor of our devotional life. And that develops the relationship. And we see here in Ajamil, he didn't have a relationship with Krishna. He was in anxiety. He was calling out to his son as if he could help, because he was so attached to his son. So that's the natural fear of death we experience. And the fear of death, or the cause of the fear we have of death, is that our relationship with Krishna is not established. Because if it was established, it wouldn't be a fearful situation. Because death will be that moment where we can finally leave and go back home, back to Godhead, and see our beloved. But that depends on the relationship we have established with him. If that's not there, well, then there will be fear. Then we will be fearful. So it's quite instructive in this chapter, and that's the little test Shukadev Goswami has for us. That, well, are we just happy doing so many other things? We're chanting, but do we think, oh, well, holy name sorts it all out for us? Or do we now see, do we now see how important it is to actually put some little effort in developing the relationship with Krishna? We can, oftentimes, we feel, if we have that attitude like, oh, well, if the holy name is so powerful, I have a bit more time, I have so many things, better things to do. But no, time is very short. You realize that once you have children, wow, time flies. You see them grow up, and I'm 47. My God. It's like, how did that happen? It's so quick. My daughter is 10, as a child, 10 years, 1 week is so long. Oh no, my birthday is tomorrow, I can't wait. It's such a long time. But as the older we get, the more time just like sand goes through the fingers and it disappears. So we don't have that much time. And best is not to take the chance of taking another body. We don't know where we end up. Obviously, once we're a pure devotee, a long way to go. But once we're pure devotee, we don't care anymore if we're in the material world or in the spiritual world, as long as we remember Krishna and can do some service for him, right? But let's get into that stage of pure devotee that we actually don't care where we're going as long as we remember Krishna, because I'm not there. But so it's quite important instructions here. Yeah, we shouldn't just rely on the power of the holy name. That's the initial opportunity we're getting through the holy name. But we have to let the holy name somehow through to our heart, through the ghee of the holy name, not just in the ear. And then we have so much gunk in our mind, and in between the ear and the heart is quite a distance. There can be so much gunk being stuck, so much mentalness, so many attachments, so many anarthas, and so on. So much stuff can be there which prevents the ghee from actually entering the heart and doing its magic. The holy name doesn't enter the heart and it does its magic. And I have a nice, and when I heard that, I remembered one situation on Harinam, and that was a very special Harinam many years ago. I think Prabhu, you were there. It was a brahmachari Harinam. It's like 8 brahmacharis, 2 mridangas, 1 set of wombas, 2 kartals, and just to express through city, you know, just no microphone, no nothing. And it was quite noisy still then on Queen Street, lots of cars and so much hustle and bustle. And the sound just didn't carry very far. People didn't even notice that people were chanting. It was because it just didn't carry. But that was actually, it's not a bad thing, because people were just doing their thing, absorbed in the phone and so on, doing their thing and barely realizing. And I remember there was this one Chinese boy. He was on the phone or something, just walking. And we just passed him. And just when we passed him, we were already past, he just turned around and stood frozen. Something hit him. The fences were down, the holy name entered his heart, and he was just standing there. Brahmachari Express continued across the lights. I turned around, he was still standing there. He was completely shocked because he got a full dose of the holy name. He couldn't put the defenses up, you know. Sometimes I think that's actually a nice way to do Harinam, because people are unprepared. If you hear, you know, the instruments and, you know, the speakers from 2 blocks away, so, oh yeah, Hare Krishna, blah, 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 block, you know. But this boy, he was just snapped out of his zone wherever he was in, because the holy name just fully hit him. It was an interesting experience, you know, and I remember that because it was just so funny. He stood there frozen, like mouth open. So that's the power of the holy name. Doesn't mean he goes back home, back to Godhead, but something happened, definitely. Yeah? And so chanting the holy name for the benefit of others, Harinam, is so important. And what makes Harinam powerful? Powerful speakers, the strong playing and expert playing of instruments? No, purity, the purity of the chanting, that will affect the hearts of others. So that's what we always have to remember, you know, that the purity of the chanting, purity is the force that will have the effect on anyone who hears it. It's not all the rest around it, how we decorate the holy name. Holy name is all attractive. We cannot make it more attractive through whatever arrangements we make. It's the purity of our chanting. And for our chanting to be pure, we have to put some effort in. We have to reestablish the relationship of the Lord and with the Lord, and take that time of japa as quality time for Krishna, mindfully turn towards him. Attentive chanting leads to more attentive chanting. So if we put some effort in the first round, or maybe we try to 2 rounds fully focus on attentiveness. Yes, Krishna, I know you're there. I need you. And turn towards him. Like Ajamil, in helplessness and anxiety, he cried out. So in the prayers of Queen Kunti, I mentioned in the beginning, Prabhupada talks about that the holy name is so powerful, but it depends on the quality of feeling, with what feeling we chant the holy name. A helpless man can feelingly chant the holy name, whereas a man in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. So helplessness is so important, and helplessness is a manifestation again of humility. We feel we have to come to the point where we feel, well, I need Krishna, I need Guru, I need the devotees. We kind of realize that a little bit, but we're quite comfortable and feel quite competent to do it all ourselves. We don't really feel the need for Krishna. I need Krishna. Krishna, without you, I am nothing. I can't do anything. Oh, Gurudev, without you, I can't do anything. Prabhupada, I can't do anything without you. We're not quite there, at least for myself speaking. And we have still some, you know, self-feeling of being competent. But that will prevent us to actually call out the holy name in quality. Helplessly calling out like a child calls for his mother. There is no other thought in a child's mind except, I need my mother right now, Mama. Yeah, the child doesn't think about with whom to play. Strange, always when I call out for my mother, I think who to play, when to play, what to play. No, it's not there. It's just, I need you. But we're not crying out to Krishna like that because, yeah, we we kind of understand, yes, I need Krishna a little bit, but actually I'm still quite competent without Krishna. So that's why our heart is not so involved. So we have to come, through all our studies, through all our reading, all our services, we should come to that point of, I need Krishna. And put that feeling in the heart as helplessness into our chanting, into our calling out for Krishna. And that will bring actual confidence. Srila Prabhupada gives that example somewhere. That, a child crossing a big road, if he thinks he's so competent, runs over and gets, run over by a car in no time, if the child is confident. But the father is right there. So if the child puts their hand into the father's hand, in helplessness, I can't get across, but my father is there, then the child becomes confident that it can cross the road in that helpless state because he fully depends on the father. So this kind of helplessness is spiritual helplessness if we understand, to come to that point that, whoa, whatever endeavor I do, I just fully depend on Guru, on Prabhupada, on Krishna. And we put that in the chanting. There's, of course, also material helplessness, standing at the road, oh, so many cars, oh God, I never get across. Oh my, poor me, what do I do? Oh my God. Father is right there, but you're not having the idea to, okay, put the hand in the father's hand, this material helplessness, and you got all depressed, So that's spiritual helplessness. Yes, my dad is here, no worries. And Krishna explains, promises us, Savadama Parichachamami Kamsharam Vachaham Sava Papibyo Moksha Ishami Masuchaha. Just don't worry. Just surrender to me and don't worry. Short version of the verse. Right? So we just have to understand Krishna is there and we just have to take his hand. Prabhupada is there, we just have to take his hand in the form of his instructions and follow. And then there will be no worry. And then we become confident, not from a false ego point of view, but from a how you say that, from a real confidence, which shows real confidence we can have only in Krishna and Guru, rather than from our false ego perspective. And that's maybe a nice part to keep in mind when we go through the chapter, to remember that, yes, Holy Name has so many amazing qualities, but the Holy Name is Krishna, it's a person. And the whole purpose is my relationship with him. And all the rest are side effects, amazing side effects. Yeah? Absolutely amazing side effects. But we still have to do our part. What is it? Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, that verse. I just learned it, so it doesn't flow very freely. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. His great soul perpetually worship me in devotion. So we have to put that effort in, great determination. We have to make Chutta Vrata, great vow, right? Vrata is a vow, so whatever that means, and word by word. So we have to put this determination in, always chanting, with determined to develop that relationship with Krishna, and then no worries, everything will be fine, because we can be confident that when we hold Krishna's hand, he will certainly, actually what we should do is cling onto Gurudev's feet, right? And Gurudev clings onto Prabhupada's feet, and Prabhupada clings onto Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's feet, and the whole parampara, and then Krishna pulls us out of the misery of the material world at one stage. So we're not holding the hand, we're holding tightly to the feet of Guru, obviously, but just to stay with the analogy of the father and the big road and the child. So yeah, so it's a wonderful chapter ahead, and the glories of the Holy Name. So we can remember that despite all the side effects of the Holy Name, the main thing is that we can have the opportunity of directly associating with Krishna personally while we chant the Holy Name. Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions or comments and corrections?
hearing is I'm not different by the mind or hearing. When I think from it's my regular relationships with people, the idea of having a relationship with somebody, they do the same my name over and over. It doesn't seem like a personal relationship. It's like this is more to it than that. In terms of trying to have a relationship, personal level, outside of obviously if we chant and truly from my kind of it is different. There's a kind of formal relationship which outside of this kind of thing is the prescription for that also. Obviously, if we're trying not to, so sometimes we do an chant. I'm thinking about maybe I shouldn't be because I should be. Which makes me wonder how can I form a relationship when I'm not thinking about the personal aspect.
Well, obviously that's a whole big topic, how to develop the relationship with Krishna while chanting. Yes, hearing, ultimately we should simply hear. That's the hearing. Srila Prabhupada said, hear yourself chant sincerely. Because then Krishna is present, and if we try to listen, then obviously our mind is focused on listening. But in order to do so, in order to be able to hear and try to know develop the relationship with Krishna, first there has to be some little knowledge, some jnana. That's why we read Bhagavad Gita. So we have to get some more information about Krishna. Not that it's ultimately necessary, but for us it's necessary because our consciousness is so polluted. Right? It would still work without, but we don't have the determination to pull through, and we don't have the faith in that. So first we need to hear a little bit about Krishna, his amazing qualities and his amazing pastimes. So we read Bhagavad Gita, we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we read Chaitanya Charitamrita to get some information, some knowledge, and then we get hopefully to that point that we realize, wow, Krishna is amazing. Let's somehow connect. Right? So this and then while we're chanting, because this gyan is only, we get some information about Krishna. But if we chant attentively, if we engage in devotional service, that's when then real knowledge, because if we're studying, that's kind of an ascending process. We're trying to get knowledge, right? But transcendental knowledge is not ascending, it's descending. It comes from Krishna, it's revealed by Krishna. Obviously, we need a little bit knowledge to want to engage in devotional service. Once we engage in devotional service, sincerely, to whatever degree we engage, Krishna reveals. So it's reciprocative, and then whatever Krishna reveals, that's the real knowledge, and we can only try to get that into, formulate it into words maybe, but we cannot actually give that to others because it comes from Krishna to us according to our surrender, our engaging in his service. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but so the process is getting some knowledge which should increase our faith in the process, and then by doing the process of chanting sincerely, engaging in service, associating with devotees, that faith should increase more and more, and the faith increases more and more, our application of our practice becomes more deep, and the more we the more we surrender, the more we put determination in the process, the more Krishna will reveal according to our to our sincerity. And then we, and that revelation again increases our faith. So it's a constant, we're feeding from the association of devotees, from our own practice when Krishna gives us realization, because any realization comes from Krishna. And that in turn increases the faith. So in that way, that's it's the opposite of a vicious cycle. Is there a term for that? The opposite of a vicious cycle? Vicious cycle brings us down, down, down. But devotional service is the opposite. It brings us up, 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 because it feeds. It's a positive feedback loop, which increases our faith, our determination, our taste, and so on. So does that help a little bit? Okay, thanks, Guru. Anything else? Guru, yeah.
I was just wondering if this so seems like like versus you have to jump in as well. But wondering two things. How long is it expected to find this sort of time?
So how long does it take to reach pure chanting, and how to keep motivated while we're getting there? Whoa. In terms of time, can be many lifetimes, it can be a moment. So it really depends on the application. So I don't think there can be any timeline. It's a little bit like, asking for in a marriage, how long does it take so husband and wife can cooperate nicely, like how long does it take for love to develop? You just can't put a time on, similarly, how long does it take to surrender to Guru? It can be before initiation, at initiation, after initiation, or never. Right? So that's really in terms of time frame, it's hard to say, but like Krishna says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So if we make the sincere effort, and I understand from, if we have the feeling that we are on a treadmill and just not getting anywhere, on a hamster wheel, we're trying and trying, but it seems we're not getting anywhere. Internally, it certainly looks like that. Externally, there might be a big difference from who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, to who you are now in terms of your consciousness, right? But it's not so prevalent, because Krishna has this nice trick. Devotional service is quite amazing. We come to devotional service, and that's something Urmila Mataji also expressed once. We come to devotional service, and Krishna allows us, but Lord Chaitanya actually gives us the real taste of devotional service. He opens the storehouse and then just try it, eat it, taste it, right? And we actually get this, how do you call it? We get like a free sample of what it actually means to taste devotional service. And then after some time, reality kicks in, where we actually at. So we have that free taster, which should encourage us. But then, we have to put effort in. We can't be freeloading our way back home to get back to Godhead. So, but because we have that taste, if we continue engaging in devotional service and association of devotees, then and study and the scriptures, chant sincerely, the taste should slowly increase. Not, we can't expect that, but it's that what keeps motivating, at least me myself, that the process works. We have times where it's you're struggling with your mind, but you realize whenever you're struggling, it's actually material desires coming up. It's, you know, you're actually distracted from Krishna, distracted from devotional service. At least for myself, you can say that the reason we are struggling is not the devotional service. It's because we are not engaging fully in devotional service. There are distractions there. Guidance is important, so we have the right balance of our service, moving through the different phases of our life. Timely is also important, understanding when to move from one ashram to the other ashram and so on. So that again requires expert guidance. So sometimes we may be also attached to a certain situation, be it ashram, being at the service, being at something, but we would actually need something else. So that to take guidance also again requires humility to a certain extent. So it's a very, it's a very individual, it's a case-to-case thing. What the individual person needs at the current moment in time to keep engaged, but ultimately. Service, chanting, and association of devotees, loving exchanges, then we feel the effect actually of love of Godhead. We get the taste. I just realized because I'm going to do a little one ashram presentation over the next 3 weeks, and when we contrast spiritual culture to our material culture, it's like day and night. Especially in the West, it's just material life is exploiting. It's just me in the center, me. And then becoming a Vaishnava, which means serving others, serving Krishna, selflessness, is like two complete different worlds. And only, if me is the prime factor in my life, I cannot engage in loving exchanges. So from our conditioning, from our material conditioning, to overcome that, it's quite hard, and we cannot really engage in those loving exchanges when we still have all those, the strong material conditioning. If we get into, if we focus on loving exchanges, for example, Srila Prabhupada says, if through the loving exchanges, Krishna, our dormant Krishna consciousness will automatically awake. But our conditioning prevents us from engaging in loving exchanges sincerely from the heart because it's so against our conditioning. We want to get. I want to get something. I want to receive. I don't want to give. But if we actually give little things, prasadam, right? Such a little thing. Give prasadam, giving an ear, listening to you, can reveal your mind. And we are, so that actually also strengthens the faith in the process because we experience something very tangible, which to our material conditioning doesn't make sense. Right? So yeah, so many points you could discuss, but I hope that helps a little bit. I'm just winding my way through. Anything else? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nittai Gaur Premananda. Jai.